Earth, the planet that we live on, is irreplaceable, and yet its environment currently faces many serious issues. They include the decline of tropical rainforests, river and ocean pollution, and climate change caused by global warming. These issues are all the result of the impact on the environment from our human activities. The Blue Planet Prize was established in the hope of restoring the global environment. Established by the Asahi Glass Foundation in Japan in 1992, and regarded as the Nobel Prize in the field of the environment, it is awarded to researchers who have made outstanding achievements in tackling environmental issues. Each year, 2 prize winners are selected, and the winning individuals or organizations each receive a trophy and a cash prize of 50 million yen. One of the winners of the memorable first Blue Planet Prize was Dr. Manabe Shukuro. A leading researcher on global warming, Dr. Manabe was also awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2021 for his work developing the world's first numerical model in the 1960s for simulated climate change prediction. And in 2021, the 30th Blue Planet Prize was awarded to these 2 professors. Professor Veerabhadran Ramanathan has been studying greenhouse gases and substances other than carbon dioxide that influence global warming. He has found that reducing emissions of these substances is an important key to putting the brakes on global warming.
If the world brings down the emissions of methane, black carbon, HFCs, and ozone, you can reduce the warming rate, the rate at which the planet is heating up, by half.
The other prize winner is Professor Mohan Munasinghe, who was one of the first to introduce the concept of sustainomics, which takes into account the 3 perspectives of economy, environment, and society.
I feel that we are not leaving them a very nice planet for the future. We can at least give them some advice, and this is why I continue. We say we pass the torch to the next generation.
What can we do to protect the environment and pass it on to posterity? We will take a closer look at the research results of the 2 laureates, which are keys to the realization of a sustainable society that is so important for the future of the Earth. The Scripps Institution of Oceanography at the University of California, San Diego, overlooks the Pacific Ocean. Professor Ramanathan first became known to the world for his research in which he discovered that there are substances besides carbon dioxide which have a large impact on global warming. The greenhouse effect is a process that occurs when gases in the atmosphere trap heat, resulting in a temperature increase on the surface of the Earth. Professor Ramanathan identified that chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, which are used as refrigerants in air conditioners, have a much greater impact on global warming than that of carbon dioxide.
And my discovery was that 1 ton of Freon 11 and 12, which is chlorofluorocarbons 11 and 12, CFCs, 1 ton of them in the air will have the same warming effect as 10,000 tons of carbon dioxide. So that was a major finding.
This led to various lines of research and the discovery, one after another, of substances with a large global warming potential, such as black carbon and methane.
The gases other than carbon dioxide, CFCs, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, together, their effect on climate was almost the same as CO2.
These substances have one major characteristic that carbon dioxide does not have: a very short lifetime. These global warming substances are named short-lived climate pollutants, or SLCPs.
CO2 lifetime is 100 years, 1,000 years. But methane, ozone, their lifetime was around 10 years. Black carbon is about 10 days, okay? So if you put diesel filters, that black carbon in the air is gone in 2 weeks. So its climate effect is gone.
Veerabhadran Ramanathan was born in the southern Indian city of Chennai in 1944. His father was a tyre salesman. He was an active boy with good grades, and one event had a profound impact on his life. It happened when he was 10. His family moved to Bangalore, where all the classes were conducted in English. At that time, Ramanathan only spoke Tamil, so it was a very big language barrier for him to overcome.
I didn't understand anything they were saying. So my grade went from the top to the below average. So I used to figure out physics, chemistry, and math on my own, just studying book. You see, what it did to me is that it taught me to be independent. I was not depending on my teachers to tell me. I sort of used to, imagine in my mind all the physics, gravity, and, mechanics. So it sort of helped me tremendously throughout my career.
After graduating with an engineering degree from Annamalai University in India, he joined a refrigeration equipment manufacturing company, checking the leakage of CFCs from sealed refrigeration units. Then he decided to pursue graduate school. The reason was that he could go to the United States, the place of his dreams, and drive a cool American car. In America, his research life began. Under his mentor, Professor Robert Sess, he started studying the greenhouse effect on Mars and Venus. His wife, Giri, went to America with him at that time. They've been married for almost 50 years, sharing all their joys and sorrows. Their children having flown the nest, just the couple now live peacefully together. Giri shares with us a little-known side of her enthusiastic, scholarly husband.
I think about Ram, the way I think of him is very absent-minded. We have to look for his keys every morning. Like every morning he'll misplace his keys, or he'll misplace his wallet, or he'll misplace his glasses, things like that. So, I don't know, I think his mind is always on his science.
Having discovered that the SLCPs have a negative impact on global warming, Professor Ramanathan next turned his attention to the air pollution issue known as atmospheric brown clouds. Spreading over wide areas in the skies over India and its neighbouring countries in South Asia, they are caused by the combustion of coal, the smoke created by slash and burn agriculture, and the use of stoves in private homes. Professor Ramanathan led an international project to investigate the reality of these atmospheric brown clouds. More than 200 scientists participated in the project, which was carried out on a large scale, mobilizing ships and aircraft. The project made it clear that the scale of the atmospheric brown clouds was far bigger than predicted.
I was thinking air pollution is just here, shallow layer we breathe. So we took our aircraft, we went up to 1 mile, it was there, 1 kilometer. We took the aircraft up to 2 kilometers, it was there. Then we had to take it up to 3 kilometers to see the top of the cloud, so the brown cloud was 3 kilometers thick.
To find out more about what was going on in the brown clouds, Professor Ramanathan worked on developing a new exploration system. He repeatedly conducted experiments. This is an unmanned aircraft that he developed. It's equipped with a variety of ultra-compact measurement devices. During the field survey, 3 unmanned aircraft were flown up into the atmospheric brown clouds to make observations. It turned out that the atmospheric brown clouds have major effects on the global environment. One is the serious health hazard caused by air pollution. Another is the increase in global warming caused by climate pollutants such as black carbon. In addition, the fine particles in the atmospheric brown clouds block the sunlight, and the amount of seawater evaporation is reduced, resulting in less rainfall and drought.
And when you cut the sunlight going into the ocean, you're going to cut the evaporation of moisture. So when you have less moisture evaporating from the ocean, it's going to cause less rain in the land because our water comes from the ocean, right?
In 2007, Professor Ramanathan was invited by the UN to give a lecture on atmospheric brown clouds to high school students from around the world. It was there he experienced an incident that would become a major turning point. It happened when he was sitting down after finishing his talk.
Someone was tapping on my shoulder. I looked back, and there was this she was so smart and brilliant looking girl from Africa, I think Ethiopia. So she said, "Professor Ramanathan, you made me cry with your talk. Tell me what you are doing to solve the problem." I had nothing to tell her because I was still not thinking about it's my responsibility.
Professor Ramanathan realized that the current situation was unacceptable and that he had to take action himself. He began working to stop global warming, actively advocating his ideas to state and federal governments. In India, he also launched a project to provide smoke-free cookware. In 2012, to reduce SLCPs, he led the establishment of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, or CCAC. Today, more than 80 countries, 100 cities, and 300 organizations, including the OECD and UNEP, participate in the CCAC, leading the global effort to reduce SLCPs. Professor Ramanathan is a member of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. When he met the Pope in 2014, he told him he estimated that 3 billion of the world's poor people would suffer the most from climate change. In 2017, he also briefed the 14th Dalai Lama about global warming. After listening to his appeal, both the Pope and the Dalai Lama started talking about global warming countermeasures. And in October 2021, the 26th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP26, was held in Glasgow, in the UK. At the conference, the strengthening of efforts to reduce methane, one of the SLCPs, was announced. This was a landmark event in which the importance of SLCP reduction, which Professor Ramanathan has been working on for many years, was recognized by the international community.
I see this as the first major step which will lead us to the final step we need to defeat the climate change problem. This young high school student from Africa who asked me about more than 15 years ago, what are you doing to protect the planet? I wish I can meet that girl. She's probably a working woman somewhere, and I can tell her.
Colombo, the largest city in Sri Lanka. This is the location of the institute founded by Professor Mohan Munasinghe, who for many years has been advocating how sustainable development should be carried out. At the 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, Earth Summit, held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, he proposed the groundbreaking idea of sustainomics.
So the rich are consuming more than one planet. There are not enough resources to help the poor out of poverty. And this is why you have so many broken promises. From 1947, when the United Nations Human Declaration of Human Rights was proposed, 70 years later, we have today the Sustainable Development Goals. And everything in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals was in that original document 70 years ago. So we have not made progress. That is why I proposed Sustainomics in 1992.
An important feature of Sustainomics is to look at development from perspectives other than just the economy.
Follow the principles of Sustainomics. Most important is the harmonization of economy, a prosperous economy, a clean environment, and a peaceful and inclusive society. Those three must be harmonized, and also start with ourselves, which is we must harmonize ourselves.
By harmonizing the Sustainable Development Triangle, consisting of economy, environment, and society, we can make future development more sustainable. Based on this concept, Professor Munasinghe has demonstrated leadership in various fields, including environmental science, economics, and sustainable development. Mohan Munasinghe was born in Sri Lanka in 1945.
My aptitude in English and mathematics was encouraged by my mother, who coached me in these areas from age 5 onwards. I lived in my parents' home for 17 or 18 years. Then I went abroad to study.
He majored in engineering and economics. The reason for this was a certain feeling that he had been holding on to for many years.
The additional graduate degree in economics at Concordia was influenced by my desire to directly help the poor in developing countries.
After acquiring a master's degree in engineering, a doctor's degree in physics, and a master's degree in economics, he studied the environment, energy, water, and the optimal management of natural resources. He then worked at the World Bank. While working for an organization that aims at economic development, he stressed the need to focus on the environment at the same time. He says that his colleagues hardly understood him.
many of my colleagues at the World Bank said, why are you giving equal importance to environment and social? You are economist. And I said, you must also understand the limits of pure economics. We have to have a transdisciplinary approach. And so I spent like 10 years of my life greening the World Bank.
Professor Munasinghe became the Chief of Environmental Policy and continued to emphasize that without an environmental perspective, an economy will not be viable. This led to his concept of sustainomics, which he presented at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. Later, he presented the idea of balanced, inclusive green growth, BIGG, which was developed based on sustainomics. One of the goals of BIGG is to provide a roadmap for sustainable development. There is more than one way to do this, and it varies according to the culture of each country and the level of its development.
So different countries have different paths, and in the BIGG approach, we are flexible. We are not saying every country must follow this path. If you are starving in a poor country and your child is dying, you cannot tell them, look, please, you should not be emitting so much of greenhouse gases because in 20 years, the greenhouse gas will destroy the planet. They say, look, I'm trying to survive today.
The idea of BIGG believes that in order for developed countries to continue developing further, they have to make consumption and production sustainable and reduce the burden on the environment. On the other hand, we allow a certain amount of development in developing countries. However, instead of following the same path that developed countries have taken, they should use new technologies and methods to grow without using too many resources, and to harmonize the triangle of economy, environment, and society.
That before we harmonize the planet, economy, environment, society, we need to harmonize ourselves.
From 2001 to 2008, Professor Munasinghe served as Vice Chair of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, laying the groundwork for the policies needed to combat climate change. His work with the IPCC raised public awareness of the fact that human activities were accelerating global warming. And in 2007, the organization was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. In early 2010, he proposed a new concept to the United Nations, Millennium Consumption Goals, MCGs, which call for more sustainable consumption by the 1.4 billion wealthy people who are estimated to consume 85% of the world's production. The MCGs were later incorporated into Goal 12 of the SDGs, Responsible Consumption and Production. Every week at this tennis court in Colombo, Professor Munasinghe can be seen swinging his tennis racket.
It is my lifetime sport, and we play 3 times a week in spite of COVID with my wife. She's a very good player.
His wife, Surya, is a former Sri Lankan tennis champion.
I first met Mohan when I was 15. And then later, we played tennis at the same tennis club. So we have had 51 years of married life, and it has been a very fruitful, happy union for both of us. And what I expected of him, he has lived up to it and much more. And I'm proud of all the achievements he has done during his lifetime.
After retiring from the IPCC, Professor Munasinghe moved to his hometown in Sri Lanka. Having converted the family home where he was born and raised into his present home and institute, he still tirelessly continues his activities.
The garden is very simple. It's an interior garden which symbolizes my philosophy of living. As a child, I was brought up with sunlight and fresh air and living things, green, animals, and so on. This environment, it helps to stimulate good ideas, good thoughts.
His son, Ranjiva, works with him.
For me, the approach to research and life, for me, there is no distinction. He has always thought to approach research and also life with an analytical mind.
And his daughter, Anusha, also works as a researcher.
So we learned by watching him the importance of hard work. We realized, how much effort you put into your work that will reap the benefits later on.
Based at his institute, Professor Munasinghe continues to dispatch the importance and global significance of sustainomics to the leaders of many countries.
Sustainability and actions for sustainability are not so difficult. When we leave the room, we switch off the light. When we see an open tap, we close it. We can eat less meat. It simply says, enough talk, implement, implement, implement. We must do, and Sustainomics has many methods. We are only thinking of today, tomorrow, maybe next month, but we must think next year, 10 years, maybe 100 years.
In 2021, 2 distinguished researchers were awarded the Blue Planet Prize, which honors achievements that contribute to solving global environmental issues. The challenge for each and every one of us is not only how we will listen to their suggestions, but also how we will put them into action. This program was made possible by the Asahi Glass Foundation.